The key thing that has happened to me is that I have learned the fool's errand as far as what you should do, what you shouldn't do,
Mhm.
and the difference between working through discomfort and trying to grind through pain. Grind through pain turned out to be the most foolish choice I made, but learning to work through discomfort was a very different thing because it's going to be hard. But if you're feeling pain, like genuine, this is not pleasant, something is wrong, then you need to be courageous enough and wise enough to stop. And those are the lessons I have gained over the time I've been under the bar.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast with Lee Hayward and Jeff Samataro. Since 1997, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding has been online helping guys to build muscle, lose fat, and become the best version of themselves. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with real-world practical fitness and nutrition advice to look your best, improve your health, and feel confident in your own skin, so you can live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump into the show.
Hey there, how's it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. Now, in today's episode, what you're going to be getting is a coaching call that I did with a couple of my Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching students who've already gone through the program, who've already made an amazing before and after physique transformation, and they're at the stage now where they really want to take things to the next level and compete on the bodybuilding stage. And both of these gentlemen are over 60. They are at a stage of life when most people wouldn't even be considering a bodybuilding competition, but because they've built the strength and the confidence and the physiques to go along with it, they're at a stage now where they want to test themselves, and it's kind of like a bucket list goal, if you will, to step on that bodybuilding stage and to see how they do. So we're going to discuss that during this podcast. So the first half of the podcast, we're really going to go into some of the nitty-gritty details with regards to bodybuilding contest prep and how that goes. And then later in the podcast, we're going to kind of like peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, and get into what's really involved with achieving a true total fitness bodybuilding transformation, and how this is so much more than just simply building muscle, losing fat, and getting in shape, but how this can literally impact your overall quality of life. And one thing that I really want you to pay attention to as we're going through the podcast is how deep a fitness transformation really is. You know, it's not just knowing the right exercises, sets, and reps to do in the gym. It's not just simply knowing your calories and your macros. Like, a lot of people think it's just that surface layer stuff. Now, again, not saying that that's not important, because it is, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on underneath. And that's what we really focus on within the whole Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. I mean, sure, you'll get your workouts, you'll get your meal plans, and you'll get advanced fat loss strategies and things like that you can implement. But if you don't have the foundation, the stuff that we're going to be talking about in today's episode, if you don't have that stuff figured out, then all the tactics and strategies and workouts and sets and reps and calories and macros, that's not going to mean jack shit if you can't actually implement it and have everything else taken care of that goes on underneath. So that's what we really focus on, is the bigger picture. You know, having the training, having the nutrition, having the support and the accountability and the lifestyle and the mindset that goes into the place to achieve a total fitness bodybuilding transformation. So that's what we're going to go into in great detail in today's episode. So without further ado, let's get to it. So Mike, how are things going with your contest prep? I know, like, you're counting down the days now. You're like a kid counting down the days to Christmas, counting down the days.
69. I checked earlier today. It's 69 days.
Days out. That's going to start going fast. I mean,
Yeah.
like before you know it, we'll be reminiscing about the contest.
It was such a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's amazing.
Everything's going fine. Opposing practice is just getting myself to do it. Yesterday, it didn't work out. The day before, we flew home to Atlanta, so I did it before we went to the airport.
Okay.
Even if it's just a little bit, but I'm feeling a whole lot more comfortable with how all the poses go. And now I need to work on transitions.
And that's where the videotaping will help, because it's not just how you look when you hit your pose, it's how you look getting into the pose. And a simple strategy or mindset, make big movements. And what I mean by big movements is like with your arms, like, make a big sweep. Like just don't flick your arms up real
Right.
quick.
And that's a theater type thing too, that,
Yes. Yeah.
when you're on stage, you can't make just a little movement. It doesn't carry to the audience. So yeah, that part won't be a problem. It's just, what do I do? That's all good. I feel pretty comfortable with it so far.
It'll come together. I mean, and as you get your routine together, you like your rough draft, if you will, feel free to share it,
Okay. I
just to
will.
get feedback. This was something helpful for me. Like when I was putting together my posing routine for the last show that I did, I got together with my old posing coach who I was working with back when I was competing 10 plus years ago, met up with him again. And as soon as he seen me pose, he said, yeah, it's a good routine. He said, but the first part was just, like you didn't come to life until the second half of the routine. So he said, you gotta put something in there. You gotta start it off with a bit more oomph, because it's just like we're waiting for it to start. Like the routine is half over and we're still waiting for it to start.
Right.
How long do you have? Is it a minute, 60
I
seconds?
think it's a minute. I'm not sure.
It probably is. Most federations now, they cut it to a minute because they just have so many competitors.
Right. And I think it's a minute. Just thinking back to watching them last year, none of them were particularly long.
With our federation now, like this CPA, Canadian Physique Alliance, the way they do it is in the morning with pre-judging, they let you do like a 30-second free pose. It's just the house music, like, so you don't know what they're going to be playing for music, but you can go out there and just hit some of your favorite poses
Okay.
for 30 seconds. But in the evening, that's when you do your posing routine to your music. Yeah.
And men's classic, they have masters division 35 plus,
Yep.
not 50, 60 or whatever. And then bodybuilding, they have 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, and 70 plus for masters division.
Which one are you doing? Are you doing them all?
I talked about doing them all, and it's like, that's kind of stupid. I'm doing novice, classic, physique, novice, and I guess whatever, masters 35 plus. And then in men's bodybuilding, I'm doing novice and masters 50 plus and 60 plus.
It's possible at the weigh-ins, they may juggle things around based on who shows up and how many competitors they have. Like,
right.
They want to make the best show possible. So
Sure.
like if there is a couple other guys in their 50s, they might say, hey, Mike, do you want to jump in with the 50 plus guys, right? To make a better show versus, okay, we already got a bunch of 35 plus masters, but we don't have many 50 plus masters.
Right. And I talked to John about it too before I signed up, because I thought about signing up for 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, and 60 plus in bodybuilding. And he said the problem with that is not knowing who is competing. You may have a 40-year-old that looks like a 20-year-old.
Yep.
Versus a 50-year-old or whatever. So, and he said, and doing 5 categories, you're gonna be tired. And it's like, yeah, that's true.
You would be exhausted, and after 1 or 2 times on stage, you may hit your peak, but then you're going to start to deteriorate.
Right.
You're going to lose your pump, and you're not going to have the energy and that to hit the poses as like you should. There's a point where you pose enough to hit your peak and look really good, and then there's a point where you've done too much and you're starting to flatten out again, right?
Right. And it's $150 per class and category.
It's a money game. That's where the money's made in competitor registrations. That's
150 seems to be the magic number. It was 150 for my NPC number, 150 for each category, 150 for the airbrush tan. I guess we don't call it spray tan, it's airbrush tan, fancier. And the hotel is 300, so 150 times 2. The only thing I didn't sign up for so far is the picture video package, because I was tired of putting my credit card in so many times.
That's the reality of bodybuilding. Chatting with Mike there about, because I'm sure there's a lot of similarities with what you're going through. I mean, you're
very much so. I'm in the best physical condition I've ever been in my entire life.
I can see you look leaner. Like, I mean, just looking at your face, and that looks leaner than the last time we spoke. Yeah, I can tell.
I'm stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaner. I've seen more vascularity happening in my body. And that's one of the things that has been very encouraging to the people that have been in the gym that I've been at. Most of them are from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, around those areas, and they hold grandfathers and older people in very high esteem. And they have been incredibly overwhelmed, and they've been spreading it on their own social media. You've got to meet the grandpa who lifts, right?
Yeah.
And that's been very encouraging as far as my experience in the gym is concerned. And so I've been plied with questions about what it's like to be an older gentleman lifting. So it's been very encouraging in that regard. My job at SAIT is coming under a bit of concern because, as you know, in Canada, Trudeau has put a cap on the number of international students coming into Canada. So we're going to be about half the number of international students on our campus. So that puts my program in a bit of I'm under a microscope. Like, is it worth keeping? Are you worth having? So with all of the tumultuous things that are happening in my world, this bodybuilding journey has been keeping things stable. And I would say many people talk about the stress of bodybuilding. Actually, I would say it's a very healing experience for me. I can work through my stress in the gym. It is incredibly powerful. So the gym has been a very good place for me, Lee. And I wanted to say both thank you to you and Mike for your ongoing support and love over these many months as I've been going through this journey. I'm very grateful for that, because we're looking for longevity here. And I'm very, bodybuilding has been something that I've grown into and have appreciated because, well, there are lots of athletic activities, but I'm startlingly clumsy. And people go, how did you manage to this is why I did not participate in sports, because I knew what my tendencies were. But can you consider the hours in bodybuilding? There are very, very few injuries. And if you're careful, yes, but there are remarkably fewer injuries in bodybuilding than there are in other sports. So I've found a place where it's both safe and healthy.
That's a good point. Bodybuilding could be building your body. It could be competitive bodybuilding, which is what you guys are embarking on now. But even if we just look at building your body, going to the gym to exercise, to build your body, you're in control of what you do. That is one of the very few sports where you are in control. Now, of course, there are some freak accidents, like maybe the machine could break or something like that. Like, who knows? Like one injury that I had, I want to share this one. I was doing lat pull downs before and the cable snapped. And I end up on my back on the floor, because, okay, you're exerting all that force. And the next thing you know, snap. So, yes, there's a few freak accidents like that. If you have a mechanical or something like that. But for the most part, you are in control. Like, you decide how much weight you're going to lift. You decide how hard you're going to push yourself or not push yourself. You can be in control of your limits. Where if we're playing sports, you have a team coming at you like a football, you're getting tackled. You're not in control of what happens there. In a martial arts, you're not in control of what happens there. There's so many other elements that can cause injury. In bodybuilding, it's relatively safe. And if it's an injury, it's usually your own fault that you got injured because you went beyond your means. And
yes, indeed.
we've all done that at some point or another. Myself and Mike, before we started this, we were just talking about the going beyond your means, because this past weekend, I did a cycling event again, and several people went beyond their means.
I heard that as I was trying to get in.
Yeah.
I was in your conversation.
Right.
And the key thing that has happened to me is that I have learned the fool's errand as far as what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And the difference between working through discomfort and trying to grind through pain. Grind through pain turned out to be the most foolish choice I made, but learning to work through discomfort was a very different thing, because it's going to be hard. When you pull those weights, when you lift it, it's going to be hard. But if you're feeling pain, like genuine, this is not pleasant, something is wrong, then you need to be courageous enough and wise enough to stop. And those are the lessons I have gained over the time I've been under the bar. And between us both, I've been at it since I was 62. So it's not like I'm a novice in those regards, but along the way, I began to learn more about the sport. I'm not going to be tackled by the chest press machine.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And nobody's going to wrap me around with a cord on the lat pull down. Yes, there are freak accidents. But the most wonderful part of it is that this is all you. In a game, you cannot control where the ball is going to go, who's going to break a rule that sets your team back. But when you're in the gym, it's all you. And the gains are all you. I feel tremendous confidence. Over the months and years that I've been in this, my self-esteem has risen so that I'm able to be in the classroom again. I'm able to talk to students again. Prior to 62, my confidence in the classroom was at a horrible low, much like what happened in that film that you mentioned about that very obese man that was like the whale, that movie, The Whale, right? I felt that, right? And I lost a lot of confidence. But now, because of what's happening to me, I am not necessarily more imposing, but I'm much more confident. And I know I can do things that other people can't. And that's very empowering. Mike, I'm sure you've had that moment when people have come up to you and said, man, you really did that. Like, how can I get to be strong like you? Like, how did you do that? Does that happen to you?
It happened at the lake house last week or the week before, because I told a few people about it. I said it was the weirdest day at the gym. I can't remember. There was 3 things that happened the same day. One guy came up to me. It was back day. How many sets do you have left on the lat machine? And I said 4 with this handle, and then I'm going to switch. I have 5 with a different handle. But if you want to work in, let me know. He says, no, I've just been watching you. You're always working so hard. And he said, he was complimenting me. He was a nice guy. And then there was a new gym member that had joined that day. He turns out he was older than I was. He was a retired pilot. And I was doing my calf race, and I had loaded up the calf race machine. It was 300 pounds. And he's sitting on the weightlifting bench next to me, and I wasn't paying attention to him. And I do my first set of calf raises, fully extending all the way down, stretching. And the next thing I know, he's applauding. And I'm like, okay. So that was just a little bit weird, but it was funny too. But yeah, I frequently get, how old are you? Or, I get the 2 questions I get most frequently are, how old are you and what cycle are you on?
I don't get the what cycle you're on, but they often say, like, are you supposed to be lifting this heavy? And I said, yeah. He said, you know how much this is, right? I said, oh, yes. Does your doctor know you're doing this? And I said, yes. In fact, he's encouraging me. I said, because like that, you just did this. And I said, yes, I understand. I said, and you don't feel pain? No, actually, I was warming up. So those are marvelous moments, but I get it in a different way. Ageism in the gym is an interesting experience because people do not expect senior adults to be in the gym. It's more of a young person's game. But according to Dr. Mike Israetel, who did a very powerful presentation on YouTube, the gym should be for the older people. Kids can look at weights and they can gain muscle, big deal. But your grandma, your older aunt, your grandfather belong in the gym. That's where their place should be. And Mark Ripito, in his book, Starting Strength, often says, I'm glad that my audience is going to be more than just 20-year-olds. And same with Dr. Jonathan Sullivan in his website, Gray Steel. I mean, they're 90-year-olds that are doing deadlifts of weights that kids go like, do you think he can do that? I mean, doesn't he have problems just lifting a pitcher of water out of the refrigerator? 195, right? Which is a pretty respectable weight for a man who's 93.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is. To me, that's an astonishing. But I mean, kids can do 195. I mean, 3 years, 34. Well, add 50 years and then try that, right? And the weight of years. That's a Shakespearean phrase. Yea, the great weight of years. What will happen to you over that period of time? So the gym for me is not only transformative mental or physically, but it's a mental transformation as well. The mindset that you develop to be successful is as integral as the kind of weight that you're using. And my presence in the gym has been less of a coach and more of an encourager. The kids is that, I don't want to go to the gym. It's just like, I'm going to be missing a couple of days and classes are getting heavy. And I speak into that. I said, you make time for your class, which is going to talk about your career, but this is your body. You're going to be carrying this through the rest of your life. If you do not develop the regimen to get in the gym to take care of your body, you're not going to be ready for your classes. You're not going to have the mental fortitude. You're not going to have the lung capacity, the brain skills that you need, because your body's deteriorating and you're harming it deliberately. So get in there, make room for your workout, because then studies will improve. And I can attest to that from 62. My brain health is much better. Who knows what mental health issues I've sidestepped because of all of my work in the gym. I really push for that, Lee, in the gym with the kids. I'm just so busy with my classes, and I have a sit down talk and say, okay, let's carve out time that you can say, this is time for you to do a workout. And I said, and there's a lot of stuff you can do within half an hour. And so we sit down and we work through this thing. And they say, well, how come you know all of this stuff? So I flash them my card, because the CPT, you're a certified personal trainer at 70. So yeah. It's wonderfully, absolutely wonderful.
It is. And I love, like, you're saying that as a teacher.
Yes.
Telling the students the importance of physical fitness to improve their studies and their education.
Yes.
But again, a lot of people have they're still that old school, the brains and the brawn, right? They're opposing schools, but no, they come together, like the mind body connection. And when the body is strong and fit, I mean, the mind is strong and fit. It's
right.
You can't separate the two.
There's the mind and the body, but also the soul as well. The sense of confidence, the sense of life achievement. That, yeah, I'm great in the classroom, but the classroom's only to be 2 years. Now, you may be a scholar in your classroom. I mean, I was a Mensa scholar, but you have to prove it every year, right? That you really worth being in. But when it comes to physical education, physical training, that it touches every area, not just one. And I think that I can attest to the spiritual impact it's had on my life as well. It's significant. And I read better, think better, work better, sing better. Just everything in life is enhanced because this part of me is working well. Now, granted, there will be deteriorating points.
Yep.
But I'm slowing the arc of deterioration. And Mike will probably attest to that as well. I mean, he is working through the latter part of he's moving into that aging paradigm. You probably feel much differently than you did at 40 and 50 and now into 60s. Strange things happen when you head into your 70s. There's some interesting experiences. I've had my own little moments of, I just had a senior's moment here. So I attest to that. And the mindset, like, yes, I had a horrible experience with that the angina attack, that heart event, right? But the mindset that has helped me to conquer it is not like, I'm never going to go back there again. That's not the mindset. It's, do you see on how unhealthy I was? What can I do to turn that around? What can I do to flip that over? Because if you're constantly thinking, I don't want to go back, I don't want to go back, think of the negativity that's involved. Like, I don't want a cigarette, I don't want a cigarette, I don't want to overeat, I don't want to overeat, right? That negativity does not help you. I'm going to focus on something else that moves me forward. So that's the mindset aspect. Not that I don't want to get fat. Granted. So why are you going there? Instead, I want to be healthier. Reframe that. I'm going to be bigger, stronger, more active. I do things with your grandchildren. I can now with my grandchildren I never would have dreamed of before. Lee, I carry 2 of my grandchildren in my arms. I would never have imagined being able to carry one of them, right? It was marvelous. And they said, Grandpa, can you throw us in the air? I said, okay.
That's the power. I mean, that's what real life fitness is about. It's not being strong in the gym. It's to be strong outside the gym. I mean, the gym is the tool to build the strength.
It's what can he do, not how great is he in the gym. Like, can he bench? Kids don't know how much do you bench. Really, they just don't. But they say, but can Grandpa throw you in the air? Yeah. Wow. They're very excited. That for them is real world weight training, like real world weightlifting. Like, what can you do? Like, Grandpa, can you run? Grandpa, chase me, and Grandpa, now it's like, okay, I caught you. What do I do with you?
this afternoon I was actually out jumping in the trampoline with Harvey, and that's something we love to do together. And I love that. I love the challenge of it too, because I know the benefits of jumping and rebounding and everything else, and it's just a fun challenge. And I'm nowhere near as good as him. When I'm in the trampoline, I respect what he can do, but I'm just going to be very vanilla and jumping up and down. You do your
Right.
flips and twists and all that.
But think of how you're inspiring Harvey to be
Oh, he
active,
loves it.
right?
Yep.
So your presence in his life has made him believe physical activity is important. I've inspired my grandsons. I've inspired my granddaughters that, well, grandpa does this, I'm going to be healthy and strong too. But I've got colleagues around me. I mean, the lead pastor of our church said, when I met to you and talked with you, I decided to go back to my football physique again. So he got himself a standing desk, treadmill, and he's looking great, Lee. He's really looking like he could participate in a football match, right? But he said, I owe it to you. And several of the staff that I remember I had troublesome moments with him about that, they're starting to really think more carefully about, gee, look at what's happened to Paul and look at what's me. And he's full of vitality and I can just barely get out of bed. Maybe I need to start thinking more seriously. So the influence that my life has had on others, not that I can do double bicep spread and my lats are fantastic. That's not what speaks to them. It's what vitality do you bring to life?
Mhm.
And so if I could speak into that with your total fitness bodybuilding, it is total fitness bodybuilding. Love stressing that with my friends, not just simply looking great on stage, which is my goal, but again, I'm looking great for 70. This is the physique that I'm bringing at 70.
But I love how you brought up the point of total fitness bodybuilding. And this is something that is so important because it seems like I'm seeing a lot more young deaths in the sport of bodybuilding. It seems like every other week there's like, oh, another 40-year-old bodybuilder heart attack. And it's just like it's crazy because like just last week I think there was another someone in their 40s or 50s passed away with a heart attack. And like that's not total fitness bodybuilding. Yes, they had a physique that was dominating on stage, pro caliber, huge, massive when they were at their peak in the gym, sure, strong, muscular, but where's the total fitness side of that? It's not there. Obviously, if someone's having a heart attack at that age. I mean, I know it could have been a genetic thing. Like I don't like to just paint everybody with the same brush or say, okay, it's because I mean, who knows? There might have been a genetic defect or something, who knows? But it just seems as so common, or more common, I should say, more and more common. And it's sad for sure. And I think a lot of it, again, performance enhancing drugs abuse, which we know. I mean, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. I mean, that is becoming more and more outrageous. I know people who are pro bodybuilders and who are very open about their stuff, and they always like, oh, I don't use that much. Like I was watching an interview with Phil Heath, and he was downplaying how much testosterone he was taking. Like, oh, I my first show, like I was only taking 700 milligrams of test a week. Mike, what's your TRT dose for testosterone per week? Let's just put this in perspective.
200 milligrams
200, and he
per
was
week.
only taking 700, right? And another thing is they'll use that. Okay, I'm only taking 700. So that's a small amount, but I'm also taking 10 other compounds with that. And I'm only taking small amounts of 10 or more different compounds. So you just think of, the effect of that. I mean, obviously we know the effect of it on the physique in terms of muscle and definition and yada yada yada. But what kind of effect does that have on the stress of the body, blood pressure and heart issues? And
That film, Big Rexia, opened my eyes to the
that was a prime
yeah,
example. Yes, that's a prime.
exactly. And it was a phenomenally well documented, well created documentary. And they pulled no punches about what it's going to do to your heart, what it does to your liver, what it does. And I saw some pretty disturbing images of a person who has to have surgery just to make it, like to go from one competition to the next because of the medications or the cycles that he's on. And I think what is happening, I like what's also happening in a trend. A lot of young people too are looking at this and going, gosh, I don't know if I want to go there. And so natural bodybuilding is growing in popularity, but they are fighting this mass. Do you look like you lift? Right? The idea of mass is muscle, muscle is mass. If I'm in a sense fighting that paradigm by my very sheer presence, I am lean, I'm thin, I am strong, and I'm very eager to show an excellent physique at with this kind of body type. That quality of life is becoming more and more attractive to young people because they see the cost benefit, right? The return on investment. If I do this, what will happen? But I only live 40 years. I don't know if I want that. Not only is it total fitness bodybuilding, it's total fitness natural bodybuilding. You emphasize nutrition, nourishment, how to feed your body well so it can serve you well, right? I don't see you selling supplements or cycles or SARMs anywhere. I haven't seen any advertisements for that. And I doubt that there will be. But you've been among people who do. And you've had colleagues who sponsor this stuff, right? Who sell it without a qualm. But here among our group, we're as working as naturally as we can. And as the phrase, naturally as we can.
We need to address that too, because a lot of people have that, like Mike, when we did the podcast a few weeks back, we talked about true TRT, because a lot of people are saying I'm on TRT. It's just a way of saying like I'm on steroids. So they just use the word TRT now as meaning steroids. Like, hey, what cycle are you on? Oh, you're on that TRT stuff. And we got to differentiate it, because I was actually having a chat with a guy recently, not consistent with his workouts, not consistent with his eating, like on and off again. Been following fitness for years. They follow fitness and social media almost like they watch the news. Like they know everything that's going on, but I'm not doing anything about it. All right, this particular guy said, "Oh, I wonder if I have my test up around 700 or 800, I bet I'd make all kinds of gains." And he finally went and got his testosterone levels checked, and it was just shy of 600 natural free testosterone. And his doctor said, "You don't need hormone replacement therapy," right? Because here he was thinking, well, the reason I'm not making gains is because I'm not on TRT and I got low testosterone. And he was using that as a scapegoat when he actually got tested. Like, no, man, he was 589 or something natural testosterone with poor diet, poor exercise, like, imagine once he starts eating right, sleeping better, exercising. I mean, he could easily go probably into the 600s. So it's like you gotta let that go. Now, if somebody legitimately does have low testosterone, yes, absolutely. Just like shunning a diabetic for taking insulin. Oh, you shouldn't take that insulin. You're cheating. No, that's keeping me alive. That's allowing me to live a normal quality of life. It's not cheating. There's legitimate uses for medication, again, when it's done
Yeah.
in a proper way under doctor supervision and not abused. Because that's the kicker, not abused.
That's right. And that's the problem we're facing, is the abuse of something that could be good. We can't happily abuse insulin. Insulin keeps us alive, but we can abuse other hormonal treatments. Now, granted, there are some that are absolutely physically necessary, and we have endocrinologists that say you really do need this. But when I went in for testing after my body transformation challenge, about how well am I suited for being on the physique stage? Like, can I really build muscle? The doctor came back and he said, "Sir, you were at 680."
Wow.
And he said, "You are doing not only well, you're better than the average senior adult over 65."
Well,
and my testosterone has actually held steady over these past 2 years. I just recently got tested and it's still around those levels, 670 something. But it's still very good. And considering all the stress I've been under, all of the difficulties I've been under, the gym, my nutrition and everything has elevated it. And I recently got taken off the highest I was on very high atravastin, which is important for cholesterol control. I'm at the lowest dosage that he feels in his good conscience to keep me on, because he said, I really want to make sure you're doing okay, but I'm at the lowest possible dosage. And for that, I used to be at one of the highest. I'd have to take 400 milligrams. I'm at, what, I think less than 50 right now, which is very minimal dose. But when you consider that change, he's ecstatic. He tells his patients, if you just change your lifestyle, you can change the medicine. You can reduce the dependency you have on all of these drugs. Because let me show you this video that my patient's Paul has given me. And so they see that interview that I had with you about how my life has changed as a result of this. And he said it's very encouraging for him to pass that on. So medications, when they're used well, serve us, but when they're abused, we pay a heavy price.
And we should also mention, when making any dietary or lifestyle change or exercise change, keep an open flow of communication with your doctor, especially for people who are using insulin or any medications like that. I mean, insulin is a very delicate medication. I mean, it's a life or death medication. And as you improve your eating habits, improve your exercise habits, like if someone goes from eating whatever they want and not exercising to eating better and exercising, that's going to have a dramatic impact on how much insulin they're going to need and how their body processes blood sugar and everything else. So you need to keep that open flow of communication. And if you're on those medications, and of course I'm speaking not necessarily to you guys, but to anybody who's watching the replay of this afterwards.
This is a huge profile of activities: going for walks, getting fresh air, being in nature, places of quiet and solitude to center yourself, to deal with a lot of life stresses. Precision Nutrition Program focuses on all of these things, an entire lifestyle of healthfulness. So we're concentrating on nourishment and exercise, but there's a lot more components to this lifestyle than just simply eating right and exercising. It's an embracement of all kinds of activities, what you read, who you associate with. Like you've mentioned, like if you're with the right kind of people that pull you up, you'll be pulled up. But if you're with people who want it, like the crab syndrome or the lobsters, they pull each other down, like, and they will pull you down. Might be exercising, going to the gym, but you're with all these people that are sort of preventing you from achieving greater excellence. So it's more than just simply that. And that's what I advocate in the gym with the students. I said, it's great that you want to be scholars, but your entire life is not going to be spent up here. Your life is going to be spent with this thing. And when it's not working and you start relying on medicines, think of what health dangers you could have avoided if you were taking better care of this body. But what's wonderful is you always get second chances. You can learn and change. You can learn and change, and you can reverse a lot of the places where you've been. Now it'll take time. There'll be a price to pay. I mean, I will always deal with diastasis recti. It will always be plaguing me. I don't have that marvelous line that other athletes do down the center of their body where you can see that lovely definition. But that's the price I paid for long-term obesity. It ruined the linea alba right down there, right? Because it was like 30 years of pregnancy. And that's going to have an effect on you. But that doesn't mean that I can't do exercises to develop the core. Like there are lots of abdominal exercises that you can do that can work and develop your core. So I have all this excess skin. I will never look at. That's a badge of honor. It used to be filled, but it isn't anymore. Look what you've done. And when you say to people, yeah, I may not have a six-pack ab, but look at this.
I've had some loose skin, and I know as I get older, I mean, then the loses elasticity, I'll start to have even more loose skin. But I've noticed that, especially when I made my comeback, in recent years, that's something that I've noticed. And I know, Paul, you've got it. Mike, I know you've got it. And it's amazing the number of people who say, well, I don't want to lose weight because I don't want to have loose skin. Like, I would much rather have some loose skin than be 50 plus pounds of fat and overweight. Fat sags over time too, right? Okay, it might be tight in youth, as in stretching the skin out, but I mean, that is going to sag, and like that is your warning sign right there.
I mean, I have a dear friend who's 580 pounds, and he's already had a thyroid operation from his throat down to the center of his chest. Right. And he's have that scar to remind him if he had just had a little exercise, a little bit more self-control, this wouldn't be happening. But he himself said, you know, are you fat shaming me? And I said, no, your body is shaming you. Your body is saying, you're making us do things and we're not cooperating. So we're going to do stuff that you will have to take care of. Those reminders will follow you for the rest of your life. I'm not fat shaming you. Your body is rebelling against you and saying, we're not going to play anymore. We're tired of this. We're shutting down. And if you don't take care of us, bye.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is very critical for people who are struggling with their health. If they say, well, I'm okay, right, today, but what about tomorrow and the tomorrows that come next time? And climbing those stairs and being exhausted and wheezing and being taken to an ambulance because you couldn't make it to the second flight of stairs and you had a coronary. Your body is not going to play fun. It gives up. And mine did on 4 occasions. It gave up.
I'm glad you brought up fat shaming, because I know both of you coming from teaching backgrounds. If somebody was doing poorly in their studies or in their courses, it's perfectly acceptable to point that out, to draw that to the surface and say, hey, you need to improve this or you're going to fail. I remember when I was in high school, I failed my midterm French exam because I just didn't understand it. I wasn't grasping it. And I was brought in with the other students who had failed their midterm exams. And the principal all sat us down in the gymnasium, everyone who failed, and he scolded the shit out of us. He education shamed us, if you will. Like that was perfectly acceptable. But like nowadays, if someone's overweight, like you can't bring that to their attention. Like you can't fat shame anybody. You know, it's a very delicate topic. When I was going to elementary school, they had it was basically a fitness test that they did every year. I can't remember the name, like the Canadian Excellence Fitness Test or something.
Yes. I understand that. And I did not do well on it.
But I remember they had that when I was in elementary school, and then it stopped. I never really understood why it stopped, but I remember I did it several years in a row. And the first time I did it, I was in the middle. I was average. And then that motivated me. I said, okay, I want to get better. And then the next year I did it, I got gold. And I remember the third time that I did it, I got excellence, right? Because it had these different rankings like bronze, silver, gold, excellence.
Yes, participation. That was the main goal. That was the main thrust. Yes. And it did stop.
The United States had one similar to that as well. It was a fitness test going through schools. And
yeah, it was the presidential physical fitness test.
Canada had their own version of it. It was a different name and stuff, but it was same idea, right? The reason that stopped is because it was making people feel uncomfortable if they didn't do well. And they didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable for having poor fitness. And I'm like, at that age, like, that is a gift to feel the discomfort now when you're young and you actually have time to turn it around versus let's ignore this now. Wait till you're 40, 50 years old and you have your high blood pressure and your diabetes and heart problems and high cholesterol, and try to figure it out then versus let's nip it in the bud when you're a student in school. It's so ass backwards the way our education system is.
But it's systemic. Even in my tutoring, I'm not supposed to make students feel uncomfortable. And I said, I'm sorry, but they're about to. Because I'm of the very older school. Learn to build your ego strength to hear constructive criticism. Those 3 words, ego strength and criticism, are often thrown into this huge stew of we're making people feel bad. And I've said this a number of times to my colleagues. I said, if we are not able to equip a student to face and listen to constructive, building criticism, we have failed as educators, simply put, because the only way to grow is by confronting your failures. We grow the best when we fail badly. And we can learn what not to do and what to do to improve. And we learn more from failure than we do from success.
Absolutely.
And that, I said, we have not learned how to train people to deal with failures so that they can build greater degrees of success. So it starts with a systemic mindset. Failure is not bad. It's not a cause of shame. It is a cause to say, ah, look what I can learn now. So again, reframing. And some of the educators that I'm among are the new school. Oh, we should make people feel bad. And I said, what you've just done is condemned that person to a lifetime of mediocrity. You have just sentenced him to being disgustingly average. And he'll wonder, how come I can't be successful? Well, you've just simply told him he can't be. Because in order to be that way, you have to face things that say, you're not doing well. It was painful, Lee, to sit in front of my coach who is pointing out, Paul, you need to work on this. Paul, you're not doing this. Paul, we need to be building this. All of these things were hard for me to hear. That constructive criticism galvanized me to do my very best. Because once I was confronted with the truth sets you free. And it sets you free to become better, wiser, more prudent when you're eating or being nourished and working in the gym. But we have lost that ability to teach people how to hear the negativity of the word failure and see it as a positive rather than as a debilitating experience. I appreciated that slap on the wrist when I said, Lee, I'm not going to get six-pack abs. I said, Paul, you're alive. Can you not be grateful for that? Okay, granted, you may not get six packs, but how long is that going to last? Once the Maserati has been driven around the block 600 times, it's going to lose its luster, right? And besides, the only way people have a six-pack abs is you're wearing a shirt off, your shirt's off all day long. Wouldn't you much rather have stronger shoulders and stronger arms and stronger legs and just, worrying about your vascularity down in your tummy? That was an important observation, but it stung. But I heard it with this new mindset. You are helping me to experience excellence in a very different way.
Fail fast and fail often. Don't be afraid of failure. Get those dirty reps done. Give yourself permission to take imperfect action. Just figure it out as you go. And there's so many people, like, they want to wait till things are perfect and they don't want to look bad. And it's literally crippling their success. And we were actually talking about this earlier. My son Harvey played his first time in a pub. He's 7 years old. So he was down on George Street, played in a pub with the School of Rock. He's 7 years old. He's done live performances now. I think it was his sixth live performance in front of an audience. So like this was fairly big. I mean, there was over 100 people there. Here he is. He's 7 years old on stage in front of over 100 people, and he's relaxed. But again, get out there, get those dirty reps in. I mean, the first time he played on stage and stuff, it sucked, right? Let's be honest. But it's getting better. Every time he plays, it's getting better. It's getting better, and he's getting more confident. And it's just starting to snowball. And the same thing is going to apply with anything we do. I mean, especially with bodybuilding. I mean, I remember the first time I competed on stage. I was naive. I was 17 years old, and this was before the internet, so I never had an influx of information, and I never really had a coach or anybody. I kind of just figured that out on my own through books and magazines, but I got my ass kicked. But it was such a humbling experience, and I made some friends with some of the more experienced bodybuilders, and next year came back better. But I still got my ass kicked because there was always people who were better again. Came back the following year, got better again, learned from my mistakes, kept getting better. Give yourself permission to get out there, put yourself on the line, fail fast, fail often, and learn from those failures and improve.
And that's the key, adaptability. How well can you adapt? And as according to Darwinian theory, is adaptability that is the survival of the species, not its ability to stay in a particular stasis or survive in homeostasis, but to continue on. It's very exciting that I'm here doing this, but the story is my own, true, but the community that I'm in has enhanced that story. Mike's journey, Mike's friendship, your friendship, the collegial environment that's here. That's the tide that raises all the ships. If we're doing this with isolation and without the encouragement of others, it's a very, very grim, sad journey. But I'm grateful not only simply to be among you, but to provide insight and observations to encourage you all.
I respect you guys. I mean, here you are, 60s and 70s now, stepping on a bodybuilding stage. I mean, there's a lot of people who are way better physiques who still don't have the confidence or courage to do it. You know, it's the big bigorexia. Like there's people who everybody else around them says like you should be on a bodybuilding stage, and they're like, oh, I'm not big enough yet. I'm not ripped enough yet. I'm not good enough yet. Like they're still beating themselves down.
Right.
Because up here they don't have the total package in terms of the confidence and the bigger perspective. So
yeah, Steve Furtick in his book Do the New You talked about two musicians. One had mediocre talent, one had excellent talent. The excellent talented kept his music to himself, kept it on his hard drive. Nothing happened. The fellow of mediocre talent grew and built and developed and skilled, and he became quite the artist, quite the musician, and he works with one of the largest growing churches, Elevation Church. He's a composer, songwriter, along with Steve Furtick. That is a very powerful venue for a musician of that particular area. That is the difference between if I'd only done versus I'm not good enough, it's not ready enough, it's not polished enough. Get out there and let it get polished by life. Let life polish it up. That's the difference. And what Total Fitness Bodybuilding has done for me is said, Paul, work on that body, get it in shape, and see what happens to your mind as a result, how that builds your confidence to get out and do things. Right now, Lee, I am poised at a school. I'm the subject matter expert among language acquisition learners, among people who are scholars who have multiple degrees. And I'm giving lectures. I'm giving seminars on how to help people. I would never have imagined this years ago. But the confidence that I have because of what I've learned in the gym has given me the confidence to stand and effortlessly talk to people. One fellow said, it's like I was looking for the teleprompter, because he said, you spoke with such effortless grace that the words just flowed out of you. And I said, how did you do that? And I said, because of my work in the gym. The confidence that I had being there, to being among some stellar people, gave me the ability to deep inside of me and find the talent that had always been there and bring it out and explain language acquisition paradigms and how we need to tutor people better, whole heart of what education is about. But I'm a much better educator as a result of being with you. And that's what I would leave. The legacy I would leave with people is, who are you deep down inside? What are those skills? And what would time in the gym do for you to bring all of that out because of the confidence and self-esteem that would grow as a result? I think that's key. And I'm eager for people to be set free from the if only potential, that if only I had done. Saddest words of tongue or pen are those words it might have been.
The key thing that I keep drilling home, to give yourself permission to take imperfect action. It's good enough, and be good enough consistently. Like forget looking for perfection. It doesn't exist, right? It's good enough. Take imperfect action and then just let it build from there.
There are guys out I see them on our Facebook page who have phenomenal physiques, right? So, and I like the fact that they're encouraging their children and their friends and their community to become more active. Mike, what's it like for you? Like, do you have people that sort of like having you around because you inspire them?
I do get that a lot. At your age, it's inspiring. To know that maybe I could do that when I'm your age, or that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yep.
But do you say to them, but you're going to be better because you're starting younger?
Yes, I have frequently say you're smart for starting as young, and keep going, don't stop.
Yes, because there's this fellow, I hope I look like you when I'm your age. Is it actually you'll be better because you've got a great base that you're going to be building and building and building. Yes, you may start sagging, there might be looseness around you, but you will have strength and abilities that will be far beyond where I am right now. So yes, I hope you have the enthusiasm that I have when you get to be my age, but you'll be way better. And so I appreciate, I know what they're saying. I understand the idea behind it, but I want them to understand that because they've started here, think of what's going to be like 5, 20, 25 years down the line. It's going to be wonderful. And Harvey is the same way. Lee, your impact on his life is going to be beyond tectonic in its impact. He may excel you in so many ways, but I'm glad you're encouraging that. Harvey has begun his physique journey at 5.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
even younger than that. I mean, because literally ever since he was a toddler, he was dabbling with exercise. I posted
So,
a picture there last week. It was one of the throwback Thursdays, and I showed a picture. We're doing push-ups now, and here was a picture of Harvey when he was doing push-ups, and he was only 1 year old. Like literally.
yes. But think of the physical stamina, the development that he's going to experience as when he hits puberty. He's going to be an astonishing young man. But I'm very grateful that he's got that base of physical training, physical exercise is good. Bodybuilding is a good thing. And that's been your influence. That's what you've been giving to him.
Another thing too, I'm trying to encourage him without pressuring him. If you know what I mean, because I don't want to have that pressure where, oh,
Right.
dad expects me to work out, dad expects me to do this, and I almost feel like it's this burden or this pressure. I'm trying to keep it fun and like a game, if you will. Like, hey, let's play drums, let's have fun, let's go to the gym, let's have fun, and keep it very lighthearted. Like I'm not I'm not planting seeds of, oh, you're going to be a pro bodybuilder when you grow up, or you're going to be a professional musician when you grow up. We're not there yet. We're like, hey, let's just have fun today. Let's make it fun today. That's it. That's the extent of the pressure that goes there. Sometimes like I'll say, hey, Harvey, do you want to go to the gym today, or do you want to go for a bike ride today? Or if he says, yeah, I really want to, or sometimes he says, no, I'm not really in the mood. I say, okay, that's fine. And then I'll go for a bike ride or I'll go to the gym. But then I'm planting seeds afterwards, like I'm hinting, oh, I had a really good workout at the gym, or I had a really good bike ride, and I'm trying to give him a little bit of the fear of missing out, if you will, because I went by myself and I had a really good time. Kind of wish you were with me, but do so in a way that I'm not pressuring him. And I've seen the opposite, where sometimes parents have big expectations for their kids and they put a lot of pressure on their kids. Like I seen this when I was younger. I used to play soccer. I didn't really have a passion for soccer. I did it because my cousins did it, and that was kind of like, oh, well, hey, Lee, we'll sign you up for soccer because cousin Johnny's doing soccer. Hey, we'll spend some time with them, and I didn't really care for it. But in my few years of playing soccer, I know there was one kid in particular who was really good on the soccer field, and every game he always scored a goal. And if he didn't score a goal at the end of the game, his father used to kick the shit out of him. Like literally, like you're getting a hit if you don't score a goal each game. And that father wanted his son to succeed at soccer so much that he physically beat him back in the day when you could get away with that stuff, if you will. Like it wasn't like today. I mean, you'd be arrested if you ever did anything like that. Whereas
That
back
child
then,
will be taken away.
he would. But I mean, back then it was just like, geez, don't mess with him, right? He's a hard ass, right? And
Yeah.
right, it just kind of brush it off to the side, like dirt under the rug.
There are parenting paradigms that you have to
Yeah,
pay attention to as you're doing this. But the
right.
worst of them all is that you're not living up to my dreams that I have for you. Living vicariously through that child's successes is a very dangerous thing to do as a parent. Almost all of my siblings have been very athletic. I was the only one in my entire family that had no athletic bent at that time. I was very musical. I was very into theatrics, and I was very much the arts guy. And they had horrible terminology for people who preferred art over sports. And I lived with that shame. I was not as good as my sister, my brothers. I was not. My dad was a sprinter, and he still holds a record in Ontario for his sprint time at that time when it was a 100-yard dash, right?
Mhm.
And he was basketball and volleyball and track and field was his thing. And then he got me out and was wanting to see me run. I would run and fall, and I climb a tree and couldn't get it up, and I would just not didn't have enough strength to do this and that. One of my friends observed this and said, "Your father moved from hope to disgust." Yeah, that's my son, the artist. And so I lived with that shame for decades. But when I began to get into the gym, that was the first thing I had to fight, was the parental scars that had been left in my heart, and to let them go. And I still remember before my dad passed away, he lifted up his shirt and he still had his six-pack at 91. And he said, "That's fitness." And he lifted up my shirt, which was still kind of pudgy. And he goes, "That is disgusting." That was my parting words with my dad before he passed away. And I learned that I can take that as constructive criticism to do something. And I was at that time on my fat loss journey, but he was never around. He didn't see the medals that I won for my body transformation challenge, but my brothers and sisters did. When I brought the medals at a family reunion, they were just, their eyes popped open. "You did all of this?" And, "Oh, I wish Daddy had seen that." And I said, "Yes, in many ways I did." But in some ways, that relationship that I had with him was a way of dealing with, of motivating me. It's a horrible word, but it spurred me on to do my best. But if I could pass on things to fathers, don't make your child live your dream. Find what your child could do best and encourage him totally, mentally, athletically, artistically, nurture that whole thing.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because I know, like, several times you brought up, the whole six-pack thing, and, oh, I'm not going to have the six-pack and stuff, like, so there's some deep scarring there around the midsection, like
Yes.
your father said, like, "This is toughness, that's disgusting." Like, isn't it crazy? Like, even as a grown ass man, as they say, that still burns to the core. Things that happened years ago, and I can certainly appreciate that, and appreciate you for sharing it.
And I share this with a certain degree of humility and a certain degree of vulnerability and risk. But Lee, I'm 70. I've climbed the ladders. If people want to disparage me and say, "Oh, that weird old man who's on Total Fitness Bodybuilding, oh, here he goes again." No, fine, enjoy. But I'm at the place where I'm fine saying what I want to say and talking about the things I like to talk about and being with people I enjoy. Being with you here today to celebrate becoming 70 is a wonderful gift. I probably will not be here next Sunday because I'm deep into moving and boxes and so on. But I look forward to joining you as the days go by. But this was a wonderful surprise, and I wanted to surprise you back.
I'm glad you joined us, and thanks so much for sharing. And
Have a lovely evening, you gentlemen, and blessings
guys.
on you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
All the best. Take care.
See you later.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the podcast, and if you know someone who could benefit from today's episode, please feel free to share it with them. And if you would like some help with your own fitness goals, maybe it's building muscle, losing fat, improving your health, getting in your best shape, if you would like some help with that, then feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information down in the show notes below, and you can book in for a free one-on-one strategy session coaching call with me, and we can discuss a realistic action plan that's right for you. And if I feel that you're a good fit, I may invite you to come on board and join our VIP coaching program. And if it's not a good fit and I feel that I'm not the right person to help you, then I'm not going to give you a hype or BS, but I will point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. I mean, I've got a large network of people in the fitness industry, so if I don't feel that you're a good fit for our coaching program or that I can help you, I'll be able to point you in the right direction to somebody who can. So either way, at the end of your free strategy session coaching call, you'll walk away with better insights on what you need to do next in order to reach your health and fitness goals. So that clues it up for today's episode, and we'll be back again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with another episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. Take care. Over and out.